or France or Germany, and it's like, okay, hello there, how you doing, eh?
Howdy, y'all.
Maybe from Canada. So, okay, all right.
We're fixing to
Raucous.
learn you something from Southeast Missouri.
That's right. Have you ever wondered what tubing is? Or, well, it's when you strip down into your shorts, you get in a tube, and you go down the river and get drunk, and you get sunburned along the way. It's the best time ever. And every once in a while, you get so drunk, you might lean over and accidentally kiss your cousin.
Yeah, that's happened once or twice, but
It's okay.
it's okay.
It's okay. You're family. We share
You're fair.
everything.
And even though you don't have your small clothes on, you still got your breeches on, so it's okay.
That's right. Your breeches. Your breeches. Wow. Hi, welcome to Seriously Pointless Wow, okay, let's start again. Hi, and welcome to Seriously Pointless Conversations about Culture. Okay.
I
know. How now, brown cow? How now? Does the piggy...
rain in Spain falls mostly on the plains.
That's right. Does the piggy fly with his perfumed wings?
D-A-D-D-D-Y-D-D-D-Dum.
Oh, God, we're just a bunch of fools trying to make people laugh. Okay. All right, 3. Hi, and welcome to Seriously Pointless Conversations about Culture, your seriously pointless podcast about all your nerdy and geek things and the raucous rhapsody of ravenous, rancid rats. That was James's alliteration. I know, I did my best. He had to type it out for me because I am awful about remembering things. So obviously you heard James's golf clap in the distance. He and I are riding tandem today again. Once more, the dynamic duo is in the seats. James, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am tired, but I am good.
I hear you. I am on the front end of a long week with the in-laws. We're going to cook lots of food, go floating on the river. It's going to be great.
I know. So
For those of you who aren't from Southeast Missouri, a float trip is where you get some inner tubes and you get a lot of beer and you go floating down the river for the afternoon and you drink a lot. It's a wonderful time.
And quite possibly an entire handle of a Kessler whiskey, possibly.
I'm not going to do that anymore. That was a mistake.
That was a bad idea.
I can afford things that won't destroy my intestines now. So.
Oh, dude, yeah.
The old vitamin K is going to have to be set aside for grown-up beverages.
If you guys don't know what vitamin K is, it's a Kessler whiskey. It's not a bourbon even. It's just awful like gut rot whiskey, but it's cheap and it's affordable.
Of the beverages you can buy for $10 per liter, it's pretty good. With the caveat that it's a very low bar.
That's not a high standard. What are you trying to tell people out there, man? This is an awful standard. Pay a little extra money, go out and get a slightly higher, nicer bottle of whiskey with a little smaller.
I mean,
$20, $25.
Jim Beam is like $15, so if you can't afford Jim Beam, just go home. It's fine.
Exactly. Okay, we're snobs when it comes to that. So anyways, we're not going to encourage people's drinking habits, but we are going to tell you our recommendations on things. Like today, we are going to be talking about a plague tale, Innocence. That is going to be one of our recommendations today, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. That's the alliteration we had earlier.
Rats, all the rats.
Now, if you guys do want something that's a little brighter, we can start up a liquor review channel, which I know James would be very, very much into. So
I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah,
he has you guys have never seen James's house, but he has a very nice bar set up that I am super envious of. So
we could film in front of the bar. That'd be pretty fun, actually.
Ooh, that would be cool. So maybe that ideas. I'm telling you. See,
I could start a YouTube channel.
Oh, I would be down with that. We just get tanked.
Exactly.
By the end of it, we're like, I give it a and just like fall over. Yes, best like whiskey or liquor review channel ever. So getting back to the matter at hand, before we really dive into our review of this awesome video game, in my opinion, let's talk a little bit about what we've been doing. I know James said you said you've just kind of gotten off your work week. You're getting ready to do kind of a
Hmm.
long week with the in laws, kind of a little bit of relaxing time. Have you gotten a chance to really watch anything or play anything while you're working? I know
We
it's kind of
kind
hard
of
for you.
finished up. We finished up the last anime season, like all the shows we've been talking about, like Skeleton Knight and everything else, have
Yeah,
finished up their season. We did watch one that was really cute that was called Love After World Domination.
yeah.
It's about essentially the Red Ranger from the Power Rangers is has a romantic relationship with one of the bad guys.
Oh,
And it's really cute and it's really funny and it's light on serious plot and it's a nice little evening show with the misses.
see, I like that. I like that kind of stuff.
It's
I
cute.
know. Talking about anime, I actually had get a chance. I told you about it earlier.
Hmm.
I got a chance to watch some of the this gentleman. I cannot remember his name, but he has it's Mom's Basement. It's what the YouTube channel.
Hmm.
But he did kind of his anime summer 2022. There's a couple of really good ones that I saw on there. And where was it at? Let me click on this, and I'll just bring it up. But I have to pause it. Oh my god, that's
All
so
right, here.
loud.
While he is searching, I can recommend another anime. This one popped up on Netflix a couple months ago. It is pretty light. It's kind of the anime version of a four comma, but it is called The Way of the House Husband. It's about this Yakuza guy called the Immortal Dragon who has become a stay at home husband and his adventures through daily life. And like each 20-minute episode has like 6 or 8 mini episodes included in it. So it's a lot of fun to watch.
Okay, so he doesn't have any of the names on here, which is super unhelpful, but it's okay. The what I was going to tell you about. So it's I have to find. I just need to pull up your Crunchyroll account and look at it because that's I saved a bunch of them there. It's awful. Like who in their right mind would say, "Hey, I'm gonna have all this stuff on here, but I'm not gonna name them what they're supposed to be named." Just drives me off the wall. Okay, here it is. So I threw a bunch of them on there for you, so you're probably gonna remember. Yurei Deco. So apparently this came from a studio that does kind of these weird experimental style animes. Um, and the premise behind it is I actually watched the first episode today. It was really good. I love the art style in this. It's set up kind of like in a futuristic city where the whole city is, everyone has these implants in their eyes and they're constantly connected with a social media and there's no
Oh, that sounds
longer
like fun.
have you looked at it yet? Have you seen it? Are you
I'm
watching?
just looking at the picture of it, but it sounds like a lot of fun.
It really is fun, but it's kind of got like a dark kind of like dystopian thing
So
behind
this
it.
is like the metaverse that
Yeah. Oh
Facebook's trying to
yeah.
force down our throats, but
Oh
in
yeah,
in real life.
Yeah, and the money currency is no longer there, and it's all about you have to buy things. You have to buy things like social standing and things like that with likes or hearts is what they call them. That's the currency, and you get those by posting things, right?
Oh
But
gosh.
the government is basically has a totalitarian like surveillance state because they have access to everything that you're seeing, right? And it's kind of about this one gal that is kind of an anomaly. Oh wow, anomaly within the system. Yeah, I got there. Okay, you know what? Sometimes I've got to sound out the big words, James. Um,
An enemy, an enemy.
Anemone. So they have to find this anomaly within the system and figure out like why is she like this? And she actually comes in contact with a group of folks that are trying to basically live, I guess, lack of a better word, live off the grid. And they basically have a non-presence within the system. And it's a really interesting kind of thing. It's cute, it's funny, but at the same time, it's a little gritty once you kind of figure out like the kind of world they're in.
Hmm.
The other one I want to start watching is called The Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting.
Which I think is kind of along the same. I think this one came out after the success of the other one I just mentioned, The Way of the
Yeah,
House Husband.
yeah, it's essentially kind of that thing, but the only difference is it's this guy has to babysit the daughter of like a really high level yakuza guy, and it's just kind of goofy, and it's very It's apparently it's very family friendly, kind of like cute and funny kind of thing. So I thought that was
That's
really
good.
fun. What was the other one I was trying to find? I think it was called Old Man. Uncle from Another World. So, what's it called whenever people get dropped into a different world from our
Isekai.
isekai? So it's a reverse isekai. You have to look this up. It's actually a pretty interesting idea. I thought it's reverse isekai. So he
Hmm.
basically this kid gets a call from a hospital saying, "Hey, your uncle's awake after being in a coma for 20 years." And he's like, "What? That's weird." So he goes and like meets up with his uncle, and his uncle's like, "What year is it? Blah blah blah." And he's like, "Oh,
Looks like
it's
this
this
one's
year."
on. Looks like it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it is on Netflix. It's got an interesting little art style too. But apparently, the uncle comes back from the other world where it's like magical nights and all this stuff, and he's been a big hero, and he learns all these spells and everything, and he actually like is able to bring some of that stuff back with him to our world. And it's
Oh
kind of like
gosh,
a goofy kind of like reversal on it. So I thought that was fun. I want to see that here in a little bit.
that'll be fun.
And then the one that I started to watch, um, that I don't know how well you'll like it. It's kind of a bit of an isekai kind of thing, but it's got a more interesting kind of character to it. It's called Parallel World Pharmacy. Um, this kid or this really like high level pharmacy guy, who's like brilliant, uh, basically ends up essentially working himself to death trying to find a cure for his sister's illness, and he gets transported to this other realm, and he gets put into this uh, healing prodigy. Essentially, he has like water magic, essentially, with lack of a better word, and
Hmm.
that's kind of the basic premise of it. That looks interesting, and it looks like it. Some of the a little of the stuff makes it sound like it's a little bit more off the beaten path. Like he's gonna have to fight other wizards that are kind of like juxtaposing magic types. I'm sure there'll be like a death one or something like that in there. But it looked interesting enough that I'm like, I'll give it a couple shots and see if it goes anywhere, or a couple episodes and see if it goes anywhere. But
Yeah, could be fun.
yeah, it'll be fun. But other than that, have you been playing anything? I know I've been playing a bit of stuff.
I haven't really had time for a whole lot. I mean, I've been on the Minecraft server a little bit, but that's really it.
That's okay. Hey,
It's been a crazy summer. You know, it's been trips and vacations and outdoor stuff.
I know. That's kind of why I was really trying to get this episode in there because I knew one episode this month was about as much as we were going to be able to do. So because we're going to go on a vacation here in a few weeks too. So it's just jam packed. So hopefully we'll get back on a normal schedule. But I actually started playing the new Miles Morales Spider Man game off of PlayStation Now. So I broke down
Hmm.
and I got the game, the basically PlayStation Now equivalent. It's fun. Okay, so hear me out. Okay, hear me out. You have the app for the PC, so I can play it on my PC, but it's only streaming right now, which is it's not great, but it's enough. The lag is like I can't really tell. It's enough if I'm playing single players.
Uh,
I know you don't like it, but I'm enjoying it. I'm not enough that I've actually gotten to the point where I'm probably going to platinum this game. It's really fun. Uh, I
that's
was
a good game.
I was very much very much all in on this game when I first started. Probably in the first 20-30 minutes of playing it.
Hmm.
It's really not that long of a game, honestly. If you do just the story, it's probably maybe like 5 or 6 hour game, maybe.
Hmm.
But you do all the stuff and then like do the collectibles, get all the trophies and things like that. It'll
Hmm.
end up running you about 12, 14 hours. It's really not that much of a game. But it's fun enough. The aesthetic, and I love the Miles Morales.
It's pretty short for like an $80 game, but
Well, like that's why I didn't pay for it. there were
fair enough.
definitely there were definitely a couple guys like that bought it when it first came out, and I'm like, you guys paid like 60. I think it was like 60,
No,
60 or
because
80.
no Facebook, not Facebook. PlayStation upped their price. They don't sell them for 60 anymore. They sell them for like 70 or 80, I think.
Good God, dude! I don't remember the last time I bought a full price game
That's
anywhere.
one reason I haven't gotten the PlayStation 5 when I had the chance. I skipped on it because it's
There's
a
no
lot.
point. Well, my
I
feeling
when I can
is
play every Xbox game on my PC.
Well,
So
that's kind of what I'm getting to. I'm waiting, kind of fingers crossed. Hopefully, a PlayStation now will allow us to just download the games onto our PC and play them via our video card as opposed to streaming them. I'd
yeah.
prefer that, but that's going to be a work in progress. Probably they're not. Sony does not like being playing nice with each other. So, but that's kind of what I've been up
Anyway,
to.
speaking of rat bastards, tell me about the game with the rats.
Rat bastards, you're trying to really shoehorn that in there. So
I am shoehorning it in.
I know. So
Tell me
talking
about the
about
Plague Tale.
the Plague Tale. So I picked this one up. You have not played this. I know you said.
I watched like the first hour of a Let's Play, but that's all I've done for this one. So I saw like the intro sequence, and that's about all I
Okay, well,
got.
it's not too bad. So I picked this up off of Game Pass. So this was actually one of the first games I actually ever played on Game Pass whenever it first came out.
Hmm.
Uh, and it was, I was thinking, oh, this would be just kind of a dumb, like a little quick little game to play, or it may not be very fun because I'd been hearing it was just more of a stealth horror game. And I was like, okay, we'll play it. And it's actually extremely charming, terrifying, um, and or just overall excellent, storytelling within a game. And it does have some action sequences and whatnot, but it is overall, like I said, it was a very fun game to play, and it doesn't take that very long to get through. It's maybe like if you don't do all the side things, and maybe it will take you maybe 10 hours to play. So it's fun. A,
Okay.
a brief overview of the game for anybody that doesn't know this. So it's
It
the name
seems
of
like
the
it has kind of that Dishonored vibe, like that stealth, dark
not
magic type
a
thing
little
going on.
bit. I would almost classify it. It does have a little bit of that. It's a little bit less combat-y.
Okay.
I would put it almost more in the vein of Alien Isolation a little bit.
Okay.
That is kind of like that sneak around kind of thing.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever played
Or
Alien
like
Isolation.
Thief or some, I like Thief or something
Yeah,
like that,
Thief
maybe.
almost even.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a better explanation of it. That's I kind of would go that way with it. But Plague Tale and Innocence is an action adventure survival horror stealth game developed by Osbo Studio and published by Focus Home Interactive. It was released in May of 2019. So
Has Osmo Studio done anything else notable that we would know about?
uh, not really.
Oh,
So if
actually,
I
look at this. They did Microsoft Flight Simulator for, well, they did the Xbox port of it. They didn't make the original game.
I
Uh,
have no idea, but you're cutting out really bad
I said they did the.
on the other side. So okay. So yeah, it
I
does
look
look.
like Mario from. I look like the Mario 64 opening screen where you're like playing with his face.
It's the best. That is the best. Yeah, I don't think. All right, so we'll get started here again in 5, 4. Yeah, I don't think they've really put out anything other than just a few titles here and there. Like you said, Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Looks like some straight, like some movie games. So nothing like original.
Nothing. Yeah,
So
nothing crazy. Nothing big like
this was
Focus.
their breakout hit. It looks like.
Oh, absolutely. And I was pleasantly surprised that they were actually able to get picked up and push as much as it, because from what I gathered, it really didn't initially uh, get garner a lot of attention until they did a game trailer. Let me look. I think it was in 2017. They did one at E3. Yeah, that's right. So they when they finally like pushed it out and they're like, hey, this is kind of what we're looking for, and then people get their hands on things, and it didn't win. I don't think it won Game of the Year or anything like that, but it was pleasantly surprising how well it did. I mean, it was a critical
Yeah, they won
uh,
some British awards.
art design
They got
awards.
outstanding story rich game on Steam,
Yeah, I could see that.
and they got some of the Pegasus awards. So they didn't get like a major award. So
Yeah, nothing out of like the Game Awards or anything like that. So, but it's still
they got
overall.
81% on Metacritic, which is pretty damn good though.
Like I said, man, that story it did you a lot. It does a lot for you. So, talking about the story,
Hmm.
you come across it's set like we said earlier. It's set in France, I believe. It says 18 or sorry 1348. Amicia de Rune. They're in the town or in the territory of Antioch, essentially, and their dad is this lord over the area, and kind of everything, kind of what you get about what's going on is like it's part of it's during, I think this is part of the 100 Years War or right around that
It is.
time.
That's right around that time. So
And
late medieval period,
yeah,
just before the
and
Renaissance.
and so obviously right before the Renaissance, there's a lot of Black Death, things like that is going around. Diseases are rampant, obviously. so
Diseases are very rampant at this point.
so it's kind of that vibe. You've already kind of got it sets the stage. Whenever you kind of start the game, and I don't want to give a ton away, but Amicia and her younger brother Hugo are kind of estranged, but they live in the same house, and Hugo is supposed to have this kind of illness essentially, and so they kind of isolate him inside a little bit because they're afraid he's going to die and things like that. But circumstances basically make you have to you make Amicia have to take her brother out into the world and care for him.
Isn't this like a
And
combination of like soldiers and a giant rat plague or something?
essentially, yeah, I kind of, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to give too much away because the story is everything in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So the soldiers and the British, essentially the British come in and are kind of like invading the territory, and on top of that, these rats come in that are just mounds of rats. Just obviously somehow they're interacting with each other, and they somehow can come in and attack you and basically swarm you over. So that's, and throughout the story is phenomenal, by the way. You have to basically try and figure out a way to help Hugo out, find a cure is what you're looking for him, or at least an antidote, something to help him. And you find out a lot about your family along the way, and very much your father and your mother even, kind of their family, like their family ties and where they've come from,
So is
and
family
why
like a
your brother
major
is
theme for
sick.
the? So
Yeah,
is like family a major theme for the game then?
very much so. Because along the way, you meet up with several other orphaned children as well, and you kind of make a little bit of a family. And two of the kids you actually find along the way are like brother and sister as well. And like I said, there a lot of stuff happens, and it makes it very apparent. Like family is a very deep thing at this point because it's not like today where you have a lot. You can kind of like make pseudo families, kind of almost, and you have a broken family unit. Family was everything back in that time period, and you just, like you said, when a lot of people say nowadays, even blood runs thick. That's what it is.
It still does.
So in these ties that people you make, especially at a young age, and even if you don't know somebody very well, it still says a lot when you have the same last name. You're like, oh, you have almost like an instant connection with somebody. So,
Yeah.
but other than that, the gameplay is what really sold it for me. I know. Is there anything that you really want to know about the game in particular?
So
Because
what
I'm
type of
just
gameplay is this? Is this more like an action or like a
no,
stealth?
very much more of a stealth type
Is
game.
this more like linear or open world?
Very much linear.
So kind of like a story set piece exploration
Yeah.
thing.
So a lot of the stages in throughout the game, I know you have, like we were saying, it's got that rogue or that thief vibe to it. It's very linear, but there's also different ways that you can go about and completing your task. But it's also very much, hey, you need to get to from point A to point B to progress the story. And a lot of times there's points in it where they want you to do certain things and you have to react certain ways. But there's a couple areas where there's choices. Like there's a certain point where you have a choice to try to save a British soldier from a rat horde, right? Um, and you can either extinguish the flame, which that's part of the mechanics in this, and let the rats, run over him and eat him essentially, and save you as a self, or you can provide him with a way to get out, and it has consequences down the line, right? So
Yeah.
it's just all about, they have a few of those in there, but it really doesn't have any bearing over the overarching storyline and the outcome of the game. So,
Okay. So kind
but
of like a series of vignettes as you kind of go through the
yeah,
story.
essentially. And they do the whole thing. Well, you play pretty much, I would say about 85% of the time you play as Amicia, and then you will play as Hugo, which is her brother, maybe like the last like hour and a half of the game you'll play as him for a little bit, So it is in, like I said, there's a reason why they do that, and I don't want to spoil it for everybody.
Is
Uh,
Hugo's illness unnatural?
I won't say anything. I'm just saying it has something to do with the rats, and it's a very interesting thing. And
Mommy and Daddy were demon worshippers. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
sure, James, we'll let you go with that. So, yeah, they're like, oh, hail Satan, and all that stuff. But anyways,
I
it's
believe it's Heil Satan, please.
Heil. It's Satine.
Satine is what we're going with these
It's
days.
Satine. Yes, he's much more educated now, James. That's what it is. But yeah, it's a really fun little game. It's a lot of puzzles you have to try to figure out. But yeah, and it doesn't really strain your brain too much, and it kind of lets you flow through the story without really having to overtax your brain on like, hey, am I doing the right combination of moves to kill this guy? Am I timing this right? Like, not Elden Scrolls, Elden Ring,
Hmm.
and these more
So,
strenuous,
what are some moving moments in the story for you?
some really good movie moments.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of some really good ones. Obviously, the very beginning. I'm not wrong. I'm not going to throw this away. I'm not going to ruin this for everybody. But there is a point in the very far part of the story where Amicia is kind of everyone's expecting her to take over for her dad, essentially, even though this is very uncommon during this time period. Because she's obviously a very intelligent person, and she has these conversations with her dad in the very first part of the game,
Hmm.
and I'm not spoiling anything, but he dies. I mean, because let's be honest, he's voiced by Sean Bean, and he has to die. So
They can't afford too much time with John Beam, so
Sean Bean, no, sorry, man. It's he. I love him as an actor, but and a voice actor, but he dies probably within the first like 45 minutes to an hour of the game,
hmm.
and you can tell that it's obviously it breaks her heart, to see him, and then you kind of see this weight slowly fall upon her shoulders as she figures out, oh, you know, and they end up killing her mom too. But that's not spoiling anything. That's within the first like hour of the game. So you start to see this weight fall upon her shoulders as like she's like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to take care of my brother. I have no idea what to do about his illness. What is his illness? I don't even know my brother really. And it's just like all these things are getting thrown at her at
You've
once.
got
So
that orphan child, I guess I'm mom now thing going on.
very much so. And it's a very interesting dynamic to see because she kind of does that overprotectiveness because she doesn't want anything bad to happen because Hugo is her only family that she knows of
Hmm.
nowadays. And so she wants to protect him and she wants nothing bad to happen to him. But they're going to be going through a plague swept, war swept, region of France trying to get help. And it's like the worst possible scenario you can do. And on top of that, we're going to throw these creepy rats that they just swarm up out of nowhere. And
Does the
I just want to give a huge shout out though to the swarm and rat mechanics of this game. It's become the creepiest shit I've ever seen in my life. I don't so from my prior background, I went to a lot of houses and things like that, and they were
hmm.
just dumps. And I remember that was some of the worst houses I ever went in. Whenever I would literally see the ground
Roach
moving.
Motel?
Yes, those were the ones that I hated the most. I would go out after I got done, and I would literally spray down all my clothes with like Lysol before I
Hmm.
got back in my car, and then I would also like go home and immediately just like throw my clothes in the wash along with my boots and everything. I mean, ugh, the
This evoked some of those feelings in you.
large amounts of things swirling around like that move. Don't I don't Dave doesn't do okay. I can kill that spider for my wife. I'm good with that. Or that fly that's bothering me. I can do that every day of the week. I'm good for that. I can do that.
Well, mentioning things you don't do, you said the story has some darker turns. Does it lead you down some paths or decisions that you kind of regret or didn't like?
No, a little bit.
Hard choices.
There are some. Well, they don't really, like I said, none of the choices that you do in it really affect the end of the story, and they don't really give you a lot of leeway. There's like maybe like 4 or 5 of them, I think, total throughout the game, so not a whole lot. But talking about like story wise things that they do in
Hmm.
the game. I think they do kind of push on that idea of overbearingness a little bit too much, but I kind of understand why they do it because of the era and the time frame they're in. But it does kind of like at that like 10th hour of playing the game, you're kind of like, okay, I get it. She doesn't want anything bad to happen to her brother. I get it. Calm down. You can stop punching me in the face with this. I get it.
Let's find
And
a different way to express this idea.
yes, luckily by that point they're like, okay, I think they figured out, okay, this is roughly about the time that our player base is probably going to get a little tired of this, and they kind of switched up finally, and that's when you go to play as Hugo a little bit, and you're like, oh, this kid is not as weak as we thought he was, essentially. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, um, but it is a very unique kind of setting and whatnot. So it's not something we have seen in a quite some time, in my opinion. Um, and I really like that it's pretty historical, you know, historically accurate, other than some of the more supernatural things that
Hmm.
happen. Like obviously, there's a part in there where you start to find out that that the I don't know if it's I think it's the Catholic Church is in this one. I think they're kind of set there as kind of the bad guys a little bit, like they're a second set of bad guys essentially, because they want Hugo. I'll just leave it at that for
Yeah.
stuff. Um, and
Because
it's a
he's possessed
little
by the devil.
it's kind of the idea they're going after, and it's kind of a weird turn. It very has that Da Vinci Code kind of feel to it, and I'm like,
Hmm.
this is okay. I'm okay with it, but I'm not like crazy. Like, oh, this is amazing. Like, why would they do that? That's so cool. I'm like, this is okay. Like it's nothing that really like floats my boat. I am more interested in the brother sister dynamic type thing, but I know they just kind of had a. I guess
Yeah.
they felt like they needed to throw something in there to make it a little bit more fantastical, not just like, oh, this is a super depressing like real world, realistic like a dark ages game that's like awful, because I don't think anybody would be down for that.
So I think you said there's going to be a new sequel for the game. Where does that pick up? Is it going to be the same characters or?
I believe so. So at the very end of the game, obviously, like I said earlier, um, Elise, Amicia, and Hugo are both alive, and they kind of like just riot on a car out of town, essentially out of the region, and that's the last time you see them. You don't really hear anything, but I don't really know much about the game. I'm trying to leave, as much as I can to. Uh, I don't want to bring it into my mind space essentially to try because I want
Yeah.
to be surprised. I want since this is a
Fair
very
enough.
story and linear game. I'm assuming the second one is going to be very similar. I don't want to spoil it, right? I don't want to see
Yeah.
anything
So
about it.
here's the brief premise then, without spoiling anything.
Okay, cool.
It starts up 6 months after the first game. The siblings are still together,
Okay,
and they're still looking for a cure to Hugo's disease. And it sounds like he's having trouble controlling his powers in some way. And Amicia is trying to face the trauma of all the things that she did in the first game.
so
So,
that's pretty accurate. I can deal with that. That seems like a pretty good thing. I have a feeling they're probably going to maybe move it a little bit more to maybe let you play a little bit more as Hugo. Kind of like hey,
mhm.
you have two different people to do two different things now. Like if you need to do special things, you can do it with Hugo. And if you
It's
just need
interesting.
to,
They're trying to do something that's very story driven, like The Last of Us or something like that,
yes,
but without as much of the branching plot lines involved, as from what you said.
yes, and I enjoy that a little bit more. But like I said, every once in a while, a really good like first person linear game pops in, and I'm all about that.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I can
a really
totally
good.
shut out like all these open world games. I don't have to worry about it. I can I'm like this is good. I can kind of focus on what I'm doing and just enjoy the world because everything in this game is just so well drawn and it's created. It looks gorgeous. So and from what I've gathered is since the this game was so well received, it sounds like they've got a lot of money pumped into them now that they're really going to try and make.
Yeah, it looks like by 2020, so a year after release, they'd sold more than 1 million copies. It looks like in the week of its release, it was the ninth best-selling game in the UK.
That's right.
Uh, uh, Looks like on Metacritic it's gotten somewhere in the 80 out of 100 range, which is really good. And it's been nominated for a lot of awards. It hasn't won like any major American awards, but it's a British studio, so that makes sense.
Oh, so
So
while you were talking about that, talking about random rat facts, James. So
okay.
apparently they had have it set up to where up to 5,000 rats can appear on screen simultaneously. To ensure the game can handle rendering so many enemies without sacrificing performance, the team introduced 4 layers of details when rendering the rats, in which rats furthest away from the player exist as a background non-animated mesh, whereas the rats closest to the player are animated in detail, which is a smart move. But can you imagine that? Like,
Some guy probably spent like a year of his life making the rats look nice.
how are we gonna make it where rats are gonna be? They're just like everywhere, just like wah! I'm like that just sounds. Oh, that sounds. I don't like it. Sorry.
I mean,
It's
you
just
really dig deep into that. I mean, you probably watched YouTube videos of rats. You dreamed of rats.
rats don't bother me.
You
It's
lived
the
rats.
sheer amount of rats that bother me.
Rats are scary animals. They will just about eat anything.
Well, it's
So
the thing too. People don't understand how big they are, dude. They're like small dogs. Sometimes they're big.
they're big animals. So for you, what would you rate this game?
On a scale of out of 10 rats, I would give it
Out of 1,000 rats.
out of 1,000 rats. Okay, we'll do
Yes.
1,000 rats. Okay, because we don't want to make the scale too obscene, right?
I mean, they
Um,
got to have a lot of rats, or else you said one rat doesn't bother you, so we need a
I
lot of them.
that's true. So I will give it probably an. I'm going to give it probably a 795 rats out of 1,000, probably.
It's good. It's a solid 7.9 out of 10.
Yeah, I would give it that. Like I said, it's other than the few things that detract from it. Obviously, there's a few tiny little story point marks that kind of pull back from it. Um, Obviously, it being just a straight linear game, I would love to explore this world a little bit more, but I understand why they didn't. Uh, but at the same time, the world that they've crafted is just gorgeous. So that's what really bumps it up, and the storytelling really bumps it up as well. So,
Good.
um, do you have plans on playing this game at all, James? Now that I've talked it up a little bit.
I might take a peek at it. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to get through. I've got to get back on the Minecraft server. I need to make a villager breeding station.
What, a villager breeding station? Oh, that's just
Well, the
wrong,
villager
James.
breeding I've already done. I need to make a villager shopping mall. There's
That's
if you repeatedly turn a villager into a zombie and then cure them, they'll become progressively more grateful to you and make the stuff cheaper and cheaper.
sounds like you're just trying to do a Logan's Run scenario, James, and you're
Kind of.
just maybe you can start selling them Soylent Green, and they're like, "Come on, have the Soylent Green. It's good for you guys."
Oh, that was one of the best parts of the Tinker's Construct mod. You could melt villagers down into emeralds just by
I was just
throwing them
joking.
in
I didn't
your.
know that was a thing. That's
You
awful.
throw them into your furnace and they turn into emeralds.
What is wrong with you people? Something's wrong with you guys. That's awful. All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry that I know this was a little bit shorter of an episode, and it was mostly me talking. But that's what happens when you have last minute things pop up. Just for a little bit of information, this is going to be our only episode for the month because obviously, like we said earlier, vacations and whatnot.
Mhm.
We are hopefully going to get back onto a normal schedule next month, and we're going to try and get out the 2 episodes next month. Hopefully, things work out in our favor.
I think they will.
Maybe the odds be ever in our favor. We will see. What? Hey, you know what? I had
No.
to say something. You don't want
No,
to do a Katniss.
Hunger Games? No.
You don't like Hunger Games?
It was okay.
I
It
like
was
the
okay.
books. The books were good.
I haven't read the books. I need to read the books. I
See,
just
that's your
have all the
problem.
movies.
The movies were barf. That was just a money grab by the people. The books were pretty good.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the books. They're definitely geared towards like teens and like young
Oh,
adults,
I'm sure.
but they're still good enough. Jackie actually bought them, James, and she was in
Well, I
college.
should borrow them from Jackie then and
That
read
means
them.
they're high literature.
Ooh, I can pinkies out when I read that book.
That's right. Maybe you could borrow Zorro from her. She just got done reading Zorro in Spanish. She really enjoyed that one.
I don't want to read it in Spanish
Why don't you want to read it in Spanish?
because my Spanish is very bad. Muy malo.
Muy malo. I think all of our Spanish is really bad. So, But anyways, getting back on topic, like I say, guys, we're going to try and get back on that schedule. We will let you guys know for sure. We will get the news segment out hopefully the first part of next month, and then we will do a review later in the month. Hopefully, show should not be as short as this. It's just we are short on energy, and
yes,
it was just a long month. So, thanks guys for sitting in and listening to us. James, thanks for being here and asking, poking at my brain, making me think a little bit.
Stir in the pot. Don't try too hard.
You never stir the pot. What are you talking about? You would never stir the pot. Anyways, guys, thanks, and we will see you next time. Later, guys. If you're interested in keeping up to date with new episodes on our channel, add us on any of your favorite podcasting apps, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Seriously Pointless Conversations. If you have questions or concerns, please email us at seriouslypointlessconvo@gmail.com. We appreciate any feedback. Thank you for listening to our show.